Over the last 8 years, I have worked in the tea industry. I have sold tea, I have served tea, I have hosted charity high teas, and I've even made short films on tea. And during that time, I have noticed that some teas are more popular than others. Or, really, they're just overrated. So this is my list of overrated teas. Quick disclaimer, this video is purely my opinion and mine alone. It is not a reflection upon any previous employers or any particular brands. This is solely my opinion, so please take it with a grain of salt. First up, we have French Earl Grey. This tea I just don't understand the popularity for. Earl Grey, I understand. French Earl Grey, not so much. Earl Grey has its origins in the early 1800s when Charles Grey was Prime Minister of England in the 1830s. He lived here and noticed that the water there had a bit of a limey taste. Not that lime, that lime. So he asked the tea merchant to go off and find a blend of tea that will cover up that limey taste. The merchant came back with a blend of tea that was infused with the oil from the skin of a bergamot fruit. And that's the citrusy taste that we have today. However, French Earl Grey, its origins are a little bit harder to track down. The best I could find was that it was a signature blend of a little store known as T2 that started in Melbourne in 1996 and has been incredibly popular ever since. I personally don't like it, it's too floral for my liking. I love bergamot, love Earl Grey, do not get me wrong, but if you're going to go for something that's floral, you're probably better off going something with a Miss Grey or a Earl Grey blue flower. It has a slight sweetness and floralness to it without overcrowding the flavour of the bergamot. Or just go plain bergamot, a plain Earl Grey with a couple of pieces of peanut butter toast. Brilliant, you're done, you're sorted, do it. Goodbye, French Earl Grey, go back to the classics. Ugh. This tea really grinds my gears. Oh my god. So the tea is Ceylon Orange Pekoe. So Ceylon teas are teas from Sri Lanka. That's it. And Orange Pekoe is a grading system for tea. It's not a flavour. Somehow the marketing out there has confused people so much that they assume that Ceylon or even just Orange Pekoe is a flavour. I've served countless people who have come up to me and go, "Can't we have Orange Pekoe?" And I'll say, "Which one? There's more than one?" Oh. Okay, let's break this down so you know better next time you go to a tea shop so the tea merchant doesn't roll their eyes at you. Ceylon tea is tea from Sri Lanka. That's all it is. Sri Lanka used to be called Ceylon. That's it. So the name stuck with the tea. Orange Pekoe, on the other hand, is a grading system. It's stock standard for decent tea. That's it, Orange Pekoe. It's not a flavour. It doesn't taste like orange or citrus. It's a grade. Orange comes from the Dutch royal family, the House of Orange, because the Dutch were the first people to bring tea from China to Europe. The Pekoe, on the other hand, is Cantonese for duck down. The Camellia sinensis plant, the tea plant, when its little leaves are starting to blossom, they have a bit of like a duck down, a fluffiness to them, and that's where the name comes from. So Orange Pekoe is a stock standard name for your basic tea. If you have a look at this example of what the tea leaves are, they have different names for different sections. And that's it. Simple as that. So next time you'll go, "I will have Ceylon Orange Pekoe grade 1, please." Or "I will have a Ceylon Orange Pekoe, please." Or a specific name. Don't assume Orange Pekoe is a name of a tea, because it's not, and it doesn't contain orange. Moving on. Ceylon Orange Pekoe may annoy me, but this tea, or these group of teas even, bore me. They are so common. You'll find them in every hotel and every cafe, and they're just so ubiquitous around the world. It's ridiculous. I'm talking about breakfast teas. So breakfast teas had their origins in the late 1800s. At this point, the British were drinking lots and lots of tea, but pretty much only in the afternoons. And a Scotsman named Robert Drysdale decided to find a way to get people drinking tea at breakfast. There was a hole in the market. Why not exploit it? Let's do it. The Industrial Revolution. Here we go. So he finds a blend of teas that are available throughout the year, generally a blend of Chinese and Sri Lankan tea, Indian teas I should say, and blends them together to have a real robust, bitey flavour. A lot of breakfast teas you'll notice have a real tanniny taste to them, and this was designed so you could put it with milk. It'll cut through that and you can taste it. But they didn't take off until Her Majesty Queen Victoria had a go in 1892. The different variants, such as Irish and Scottish breakfast for example, come about from different regional palates and how people prefer their teas. I've noticed that different companies do tea differently. Irish breakfast might be stronger at one place, while Scottish breakfast will be stronger at the other. Generally, English breakfast is in the middle. I find these teas incredibly boring and unimaginative and uninteresting. They're just so common. They're in every pantry, every cafe, every restaurant, every supermarket, every hotel. They're just so boring and uninteresting. If you want to go for a breakfast tea, I recommend Assam's. They're so much nicer, they have so much flavour, they're malty, and they're strong enough to take milk if you dare butcher it that way. But yes, overall, it's just overrated and uninteresting, so avoid breakfast teas altogether. You can do better. This tea I find kind of funny and interesting to talk about. Prince of Wales tea was the personal blend of the Prince of Wales, who then became King Edward, who then abdicated to marry an American divorcee. He was also a Nazi sympathizer. I don't think it's a good idea to drink tea that was designed by a Nazi sympathizer, personally, but also it's just a very bland and boring tea. Edward actually had a blend of Kimun and other Chinese black teas in this blend, but modern day Prince of Wales tea is generally based upon Ceylon. There's no strict recipe and it has sort of fallen out of favour in some places, but it's popular in other places too. I have had situations where people have gotten very offended if the place that I work sold out of it. I don't understand why. It is boring and uninteresting, and it was designed by a Nazi sympathizer. You can do better. This tea is one that I also don't understand. It's in the realm of herbal teas, well-being teas, health teas. It's peppermint tea. Peppermint as a plant? Fascinating thing. It's a hybrid plant of spearmint and watermint together and was first cultivated in 1720 just outside of London, and has also been drunk by humans since at least the ancient Egyptians. But I don't understand the fuss. Brush your teeth, chew some gum if you want some mint. Why? If you think I get annoyed at peppermint tea, then you should see me get annoyed about chamomile tea, because I think this tea is 100% overrated. Too overrated. Absolutely ridiculous. People drink it because they believe it'll make them sleep better. There's no scientific evidence to say that it will. If anything, forming a habit and drinking a warm liquid would probably help you sleep more than the chamomile itself. Have a glass of warm milk. Get used to brushing your teeth at a certain time before you go to bed. Habits are probably better for you than actually drinking chamomile. It doesn't even taste that nice. I like the smell, don't get me wrong, like the smell. That's the only redeeming feature of chamomile. But it's just, dumb. Teas are not there to cure all your ails. They're not. Absolutely not. No. They're there to be enjoyed. That's it. Stop wasting your time with chamomile. It's dumb tea. Japanese lime tea. Great as an iced tea. Personally, I don't care for lime. I know I like bergamot, but I don't like lime. And things that are too zesty. Just not a fan. And people go nuts for it at summer. Personally, if you're going to go for an iced tea, I recommend going for fruit infusion. They're great. Peach, raspberry, it's almost like red coil. It's nuts. It's a little bit more natural and less refined. And you can eat the results afterwards. You can't eat green tea leaves, but you can eat dried fruit that's been turned into iced tea. It's great. So yeah, Japanese lime, overrated. Moving on. Were you born after World War II and own probably 3 houses and love ranking credits? Then this is probably the tea for you. Lapsang Souchong is a tea that I can't stand at all. It's like licking the back of a fireplace and shoving a mouthful of ash into your mouth. Lapsang Souchong is a smoked tea. It has its origins from the Qing dynasty in China, when the residents of the Wuyi Mountains were trying to escape the soldiers of the Qing dynasty who were trying to take over China or something. So they tried to dry their tea harvest rather quickly, and they ended up smoking it and then burying it. Once they dug it all up again, they drank it, and it had a very smoked taste, clearly because it had been smoked. The Dutch got a hold of this and actually preferred the tea as it travelled better due to its preservation. I don't know how it became popular in modern contexts, but it's just so smoky, it's gross, it's disgusting. So the boomers can keep it. Keep that, give me a house. Fair trade, absolutely. This tea is a tea that I don't like because I'm not a fan of fruity floral flavours. I'm more of a person who likes creamy, caramel, dessert flavours. You know, like toffee or macadamia, something sweet like that. This tea is the Stockholm blend. Now the Stockholm blend is the signature blend of the tea centre in Sweden. And it was a serendipitous tea. A serendipity, maybe. The owner of the company was blending a tea as per usual and accidentally knocked in another ingredient which created this blend, and he decided to name it after the suburb in which the tea company was based. But internationally it is known as Stockholm because it's much easier to say than that suburb. As I said before, my flavours are preferred to creamy caramel flavours, so it's a tea that I just don't understand why people love it so much. It's up there with French Earl Grey. It's too much and it doesn't make sense. You can do better, people, if you want. I'm not going to stop you from drinking it, but I have no interest in it, and it's just overrated because you can do so much better. Finally, this tea is, you could say it's almost like the Lady Gaga of tea, except Lady Gaga is not overrated and she is amazing. I'm talking about flowering tea balls. Now, the origins of these teas is a bit murky. They could have come from ancient China, or they could have come from the 1990s. A tea merchant in the 1990s was looking, well, the story that I've heard is that they were looking for a tea to sell to women. Now, instead of shaming them about how fat they are and how they could get healthier, they noticed that maybe they like flowers better. Let's do something with flowers. So the merchant went out and looked for teas and flowers that could be consumed and decided to stitch them all together into a ball, which would then, once brewed, blossom and the flowers would come up. It's very theatrical, it's very pretty. I'm not a fan of green and white tea, so I don't really gravitate to this tea. You can brew it up to 10 times, and it does look very pretty in a glass teapot. That's about it. You'd really have to have the palate for it to enjoy it multiple times. And you can only blossom it once. It looks cool. That's about it. So there you have it, my list of overrated teas. Were any of your favorites on the list? Did I miss any overrated teas? Let me know in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, feel free to like, comment, and share. And if you want to see more, hit that subscribe button.